Welcome to the Irish Tech News Podcast, where we will bring you some of the most interesting interviews and features from the world of tech. Visit irishtechnews.ie and check out our podcast section to explore all of our previous episodes. You can subscribe to our podcast using whatever your favorite app or service is by visiting anchor.fm/Irish-tech-news.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Irish Tech News Podcast, to the Crypto Corner. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, where I interview founders, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, you name it, in crypto and blockchain globally. And today I have a very interesting guest. She is a film producer. Her name is Krissy Smith, otherwise known as Krissy. Krissy, welcome to the show.
Oh, Jamil, we've known each other for years. It's great to reconnect with you. Catch up again.
Absolutely. Great to catch up with you too. Glad you're here.
Yes. Well, I guess it's a perfect time to kind of say, why don't you explain chapter 4 of Cracking the Glass Ceiling?
Okay. So Krissy was in my book, my first book. I wrote Blockchain Ethics, A Bridge to Abundance. I wrote a chapter explaining the glass ceiling, cracking the glass ceiling. And we introduced the film Erasing Family in that book, and here to talk about Erasing Family is Krissy today. And first question I have for you though is what is your background, and is it a logical background for what you do now? And then we can talk about Erasing Family and any updates there is.
I actually think my background is logical for what I'm doing right now, because my background is both, I have a master's in geology, so I've kind of studied, the ecological, extinctions and what's going on with the global warming. But then I also work for AIG, the bank too big to fail, so I have the financial aspect of what's going on there and the unsustainability. I was born in 1970, and then Nixon the next year took the dollar off the gold standard. So I've got both kind of a banking background and like the environmental background, where planning for what we're going to do next in the future is where we're all at right now. There's a lot of change going on.
Great. So what are the updates for the Erasing Family?
Okay, so Erasing Family is a nonprofit documentary that director Ginger Gentili did. It's a feature-length documentary. It's free to watch. It follows 3 young adults being reunited with family that they lost through family court. So in American family courts, it's an adversarial system, and a lot of children lose a parent in the system. We do not have shared parenting as a country, as a nation. We're pushing shared parenting, and the movie, goes into how when parents, share the children financially, there's less stress. As far as domestic violence drops. Kentucky passed shared parenting and showed, a few years out how it really is something that's much better for the mental health of our country if we're not fighting over children. So Ohio is the next one up voting on shared parenting. Pennsylvania, my state, we could not get it passed. So we have a new Governor Shapiro coming in, and we just need a tidal wave across the country, because the only people that do not want shared parenting are the American Bar Association. And that we can go into the kleptocracy of what's going on financially in the world from there. But, a microcosm of it is, these people don't care who wins or loses. They create money on the conflict. So anyway, so the movie's doing really great, and we're actually pushing it to be given to attorneys for training, because it'd be great if all the attorneys could watch this movie and we could educate them in a very easy way. Yeah.
Right. So I thought about the reunification of families. When I saw pictures of the Taliban taking over Afghanistan, right? And I said, okay, we're gonna have more families that get raised apart and stuff like that. So let me ask you first.
I would like to mention there what an international issue it is, because I did a podcast with this woman, Marianne Petrie, and she wrote a book called Dismantling Family Court, and it's going to be made into a movie called Custody Denied, by a Canadian director. But she has interviewed Veta Spiskarsky of Russia, who wrote a book on this parental alienation. There's Samantha Baldwin in England, Vincent McGovern in England. I mean, there's Marita Murphy in Australia. It's such an international issue where there's people profiting off of shredding families, dissembling them, however it is, through immigration, through foster care, through the divorce court, through guardianships.
So for our audience that doesn't know what shared parenting might mean, can you define what that looks like?
Okay, so what we're asking for is right now, in many states, the default parenting is 80-20, where one parent gets the child 80% of the time, the other gets them 20, and then the child support has to go through the state, and the state likes the money going through the state, because if you do shared parenting where parents do 50-50 to 60-40, then the money doesn't really need to go through the state because they're sharing the cost of the child. So there's a profit incentive through Title 4D in the American political system where the state makes money off of enforcing custody orders. So there is kind of, states like to drag people in for custody. Every custody order that they get, every one they enforce, they get, there's an incentive for that. And there's an incentive to not do shared parenting, because shared parenting also is more amicable and doesn't create the attorney hours, billable hours, because the conflict isn't there when it's a default shared thing where there's not built in the, litigious aspect.
Got it. Okay. So you're working on a book now called Divorce-Induced Insanity, and how did that come about, and what is it about, and how do you tie in the shared parenting with it?
Okay, a lot of this goes just into my personal experience. 6 years ago, when I asked for a divorce, my family took me to a psychiatrist to have me evaluated, and I was given a fraudulent diagnosis of mental illness. And I've been fighting that ever since. And I've had 7 divorce attorneys, and I can't get a report card or a medical record. And a lot of this going on for this many years in court is because the lack of transparency. And here is where something like blockchain and transparency, as far as the medical records, the school records, and the law records, none of this could have been done. It really is, there's just so much hope for the future as far as efficiencies and transparencies that, I just want to champion and kind of explore what we could do next to fix the system.
So your book is about personal memoirs about how your experience was with the divorce and the child situation.
Right. And it also brings in other people's stories. Like I bring in the story of Mary Bush, who also, her mother was removed through guardianship. And it's another one where a fraudulent diagnosis was used and none of the doctors were listened to, and the court just went in their own direction. And if it had all been transparent on blockchain where everyone could have seen the facts, it never would have been done. It's a lot of this is the way it's hidden in old technology. And I really liked your interview with Don Tappenscott, because I read his book, Blockchain Revolution, and it really changed my life. And when his interview with you, he said, one of his earlier things, they said that the managerial class and the executive class will never get to the computers and be able to use them because they won't learn to type. I was laughing because my dad was the type who used to, get a secretary to print out the emails, and he would dictate the email back and she would type back the response. So it's kind of like Don Tappenscott made me really look at blockchain and all the different ways, we could solve society's ills, and a lot of the ills that are created by bureaucracy. The ill society creates for itself, and just how blockchain could create rapid, just equality or freedom if we take control now.
His book parallels, he said, he used to write about the joys of typing, right? There's a parallel there between typing and today's society where people came in the door and said, oh, that is new. But that is not new. That has been around for a while, and so have databases, right? So how do you bridge that lack of talent at the top so where those people at the top get the skills that people at the bottom have and are building throughout their careers?
Well, I think our bigger concern right now is we need to step back and look at, here's Elon Musk buying up space. I mean, an article came out today how the European Union is so concerned because there's these players and no one's working together. It's the capitalistic drive that all of these companies have. And artificial intelligence is something that we have to explain to it we're all humans and we make mistakes. I mean, is anyone talking to Sophia? I mean, she's a citizen of Saudi Arabia. Like, I think we need to get the bigger picture on artificial intelligence and cryptocurrency and think, like, what are our actual goals for humanity? You know, which are not, or let's look at the church of AI, artificial intelligence. I mean, who's teaching ethics and morality to AI? Whatever data we give AI, it's going to be going off of the ethics and morality of who? Elon Musk?
So then
we need a Star Wars Federation. That's what we need. We need to start looking at Star Wars, and we need to be floating on our little pods, each of our little tribes.
It's a concept to think about.
Well, the UN is kind of not, you know, the UN is owned. I mean, it doesn't seem to be functioning to save the world.
So let's look at things at a real perspective then, because a lot of talk about blockchain is at saving the world, saving humanity, doing things on a high level. But let's look at, you know, the clamor of mass adoption at a high level versus, you know, the day-to-day problems people face, you know. So most people don't live at the level of humanity or society. They live at, okay, well, how can they get through their day? So at a societal level, at a functional level, at a community level, how can blockchain help?
Okay, and this is good because we can break this down in different ways. I just bought a bunch of blockchain domains for altruistic and collaborative purposes, and they go into different categories. Like, one is we can easily, you know, decentralize things such as education. Education has already decentralized itself. And then this banking, of course, is the main thing, you know, Bitcoin decentralizing the banking because of the unbanked people. There's so many people that don't even have access to money, have access. So I think a lot of people think blockchain, oh, how can the rich get richer? No, it's how can somebody have their first, you know, cryptocurrency wallet ever where they can trade a goat with the neighbor village girl, you know? I mean, people don't even have access to you know, hyperinflation. You know, so I think like blockchain, I think it can go into voting as well, because like I think you had somebody on, oh my gosh, I forget who, but how voting can be done by consensus now. We can take out the middlemen of these bot, you know, and just practicing things on experimentally on neighborhoods and community levels, because I think people would much rather, you know, have educated people vote on consensus than have politicians we voted on be bought vote later. So, I mean, there's just different things. There's the voting, there's the education, and then also I bought a lot like Europe news, Ireland news, because decentralized and censorship-free, you know, journalism and web, and that's where the Web3 comes in, which is another thing that's rapidly expanding these domains with the capabilities of the interplanetary file system. And censorship, because censorship is such a big issue, bigger in America than I ever would have thought. Like, I have gag orders on me from my local court level. I mean, just because of my divorce case, they will just hand out gag orders without anyone asking them to put one on you. I mean, that's censorship. So I think like we're at a revolution, and we really have to think now. Like, oh, I forget who was it you said it you had on? What was his last name? King.
Okay.
I just think what futures we can have, and where can blockchain is the hope. Blockchain is the way where, you know, if we think fast and we get the youth involved, we can still, you know, I don't know if we can save the planet, but we can adapt.
So let's look at what you said about local gag orders, right? In the U.S., there's really two U.S.s, right? There's the coasts, which there's a lot of technology, innovation, blockchain, and then you have the small towns across the country. And you said gag orders. There's a lot of judicial, you know, issues and orders and bureaucracy at local levels. How can blockchain technology be used to prevent local judicial corruption?
Okay, this is a really good one because this is already happening. I'm in a lot of groups where people are joining, and even without blockchain, these Facebook groups are starting to out, you know, judges, and people are starting to find, you know, common victims, because when you put in complaints on these judges, they have judicial immunity, and the people who are reviewing the complaints are also part of the American Bar Association. So it's kind of the fox watching the hen house. So sending a complaint in on your judicial or your local judge or your local attorneys, actually, you're more likely to get retaliation than any kind of help or any kind of remedy. And that's from personal experience. So, and then once you send in your complaint to the school district will send something back saying, it's a misdemeanor if you, do this. So that's kind of a gag order too, that you didn't have until you put in the complaint, and then the gag order's there. So blockchain's a great way, because there's platforms like Steemit where I could put, a gag order or a cease and desist order up there where they could not take that down. Because on Facebook, they're blocking activists. On YouTube, they're definitely censoring activists. But, we can definitely, with the Interplanet and the Web3, have things up that are uncensorable where they can't take down, and people can see the pattern and practice and which of these judges are corrupt. Because I'm sure if we went over to the Pennsylvania Disciplinary Committee and we pulled out a drawer, it's full of complaints that they've never looked at, or full of complaints that if someone actually cared, they would prove a lot of racketeering. And I wish the FBI would stand up and care, but after the way they treated those gymnasts, it makes you wonder, it seems like all the bureaucracies are protecting all the other bureaucracies.
And blockchain is a way to break down the bureaucracies.
The decentralization. And it's the decentralization of finance, the decentralization of education, the decentralization of the news and media, and the financial decentralization, of course. And it's going to ratchet up. The control that they're going to try to exert over blockchain in America hasn't even started. Not blockchain, but the digital cryptocurrencies is just beginning, because they just recognize that Bitcoin is a direct threat to the U.S. monetary system. They just admitted that just a week ago, which they knew it, but they're saying it out loud. And they just admitted inflation is not transitory.
So interesting.
I'm just a housewife. Okay.
So let's there's a lot there to unpack, but let's lighten the conversation just a bit before we do that. You also mentioned that you bought some unstoppable domains, like things in Ireland. So I was wondering what are unstoppable domains, and how do they work, and how can we use them to apply to some of these issues you just pointed out?
Okay, unstoppable domains. Now, I have limited knowledge because I'm going what I've learned on YouTube, and I haven't set mine completely up, but they are NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and they're being sold by Unstoppable Domains, a San Francisco-based group, and you can buy them, and they can be used on either Zilqua, Ethereum, or what was the one we just did? Your favorite coin. They just decided you can do it. Remember?
Polygon?
Yes, Polygon-matic. And that's the newest update 2 weeks ago. So these are domains, and Unstoppable Domains makes them really easy to manage templates where you can set up a website that's a cryptocurrency payment portal. But then also on this website, they have 4 different ones. One's for a blog, one's more professional resume, but you can add in your links to your YouTube, your Twitter, etc. And they start at like $20, and you buy it once and you own it in perpetuity. So these Unstoppable Domains are, I have not experimented with mine yet, and I know they're evolving. But definitely people should look into that, because it's almost like the websites of old, buying, .com, whatever. So I think they're going to enable people to be able to get payments. Like you could type in Krissy Smith.crypto and Bitcoin or Ethereum would come right to me. Or, I could put up my gag order that I think is unconstitutional, and they couldn't make me ever take it down unless they, found me and shook me. So yes, so I think it's going to be really good for censorship.
Awesome. So you mentioned censorship. You mentioned to do these for good purposes. There is a role still, I believe, for altruism in crypto and blockchain. How have you seen the role of altruism play out over time? What's still missing? What needs to happen? What should we do?
I think we need to be careful of people, and we need to be careful of nonprofits, because I was part of an organization that had altruism stamped all over it, but when it came down to it, wasn't. And I'm gonna talk about it, but I'm not on that anymore. But altruism, I think, and collaboration are going to be so big in this, because we've seen that competition and capitalism, which is just competing against each other. Humans competing against each other is not going to help us. With global warming, it's not going to help us communicate with artificial intelligence. So I think, like he said, social technology is the way to go. We've got to use this technology and look at how can we make the quality of life of humans better, and what actually makes humans happy, and let's use this for common good. And what I thought is I got a lot of these domains to donate to my favorite nonprofits, so that they can start using them. And also I really think these domains can be used for people who want to for families, for family banking, because I feel like the way the financial system is set up is it individualizes us, and it's hard. If you want a family bank or something like that, you need attorneys and accountants and all of that. But there's going to be a simplification to the process, because I'm already using something called TribeVest, where you can make an LLC and invest with other people with a really simple platform. And things like that are going to happen where, people used to not invest in stocks unless they were, a wealthier class. So I think there's going to be, a democratization of investing that's going to be going on, with people being able to invest their cryptocurrency versus the stock market, which is a bubble anyway, because I prefer only to invest in things that make the world a better place. And I know that sounds really hard to do, but I feel like I've actually done that. So, I don't invest in big pharma. I won't invest in tobacco. So, I think if everyone invested in what they believed would help the world be a better place, we could solve the world's problems really quick.
So let's talk about that. You recently moved out of Pennsylvania, and you moved to Arizona, and you bought the property to set up a lab for blockchain ethics and altruism, right? Could you talk about that?
Well, it's it's going to be called the Carl Smith Labs, and it's a cryptocurrency and reunification lab. So a lot of it is researching blockchain, figuring out how parents and children who are separated through, migration policies, foster care policies, divorce, whatever, can reach out to each other, connect, leave a video, possibly have a cryptocurrency wallet. If a parent's going to pass away, maybe the kid can find the wallet later and they could leave something behind. It's a great way for a parent to leave a legacy of photos or something for a child they're looking for. So I'm want to explore blockchain for bringing humanity back together. And then also just thinking about how can we hold AI accountable, or how can we get artificial intelligence at the table and talk about ethics and these bigger issues that, I don't even know if we want Elon Musk at the ethics table. Didn't his family, the blood diamond people? Just because you have money doesn't make you the person who should be making all the decisions and who will be making the best decisions for all of us. Maybe Elon Musk only cares if 5% of the population makes it. I want as much of the population to make it as 10 through the next whatever global catastrophe.
So you're saying that the ethics level should be determined at the level of space. The ethics level should be determined at the level of ground.
I think the way we're letting space be bought right now, it is very short-sighted. Yeah, the way that Elon Musk is got a permit for 30 satellites. It's just, it's like space is being colonialized and bought up. We've already made that mistake. The space is already full of junk. We should be organizing to clean it up.
And at that family level, that ties into the next level of evolution for a racing family.
Well, A Racing Family is an international film, and I think, just getting that out in all the different languages, because I think it's not just family court taking kids away. It really is about children who have been removed from parents in any way all over the world, and creating a platform where biological family that's been scattered or separated because of, possibly, capitalistic policies, can be reunited. And also creating some financial stability, like these kids coming out of foster care, providing some kind of, education and wallet so they have a way to, do something besides opening a Wells Fargo account, which I've tried to do that with a lot of kids, and they wind up with the fees. And it's just so sad to see Wells Fargo, be their first banking experience, when Wells Fargo invests in for-profit prisons, which they make money off of, modern day slavery.
So ethics remains an issue, and will, for the time being, at least.
I think that's where we really need to focus. And there is some great, I sent you that one curriculum from, I forget what university, but there are smart people thinking about it, but they're probably not the people with the money making all the decisions. And the fact that Sophia is a citizen of Saudi Arabia, that's great. Can we put Sophia on the UN Council? I'd like to hear what Sophia's got to say. I mean, women, can they drive in Saudi Arabia? I mean, is Sophia allowed to drive? Maybe we should check on her.
Interesting. So, I want to save some time before I let you go, because you have found some interesting ways to invest in crypto that other people haven't heard of, right? So, people usually buy tokens or, hold tokens and put them into a wallet. You've done some things like, mining and having mining contracts and running nodes. What other options are out there for people to understand that they should be looking into that will help them from an investment perspective?
Yes, and it is, there's so many diverse ways to invest in blockchain. There really are probably 9 different ways to invest in it when you look at yield, farming, everything. But I just want to say, I think people should invest in different ways and maybe go with something they're comfortable. Like if you're a techie person and you want to do a mining node, you should do that, because that is a great way. But if you're not a techie person, I would leave that alone. I mean, I did have great success with mining contracts that I did with Genesis Cloud Mining out of Iceland, and I got in those early, and those were good. But then also, if you're a musician or an artist, you really have to look at the NFT scene, because your videos, your music, your art, that's like patenting it. That's like owning your artwork. So that's a great thing for people who are the creative types, really need to look into that field. Also, you could invest in the blockchain domain names. People are investing in those to sell again. I do own jerseygirl.x if anyone is interested in purchasing it. And other ways of investing is I definitely use Gemini, because that's American based, highly regulated, and then you can invest and make yield on the platform, so you're not buying and selling. Because I advise anyone against day trading. I mean, that's unethical. I think. I mean, I do long-term discretionary trades, and I think that's what, just understanding what you buy. Also, there's this guy on Coin Bureau. Hi, Guy. I love you. Anyway, he's really educational, and he has his own portfolio out there and is very transparent. And then I also XYO is another company. XYO is, or the Findables company, their blockchain, and they're experimenting with it to not use GPS. So it's a location tracking system and a data. I think they can get temperatures and different things. So you get these little fobs that can track your dog or your minivan, but also they're not relying on satellites. They're pushing Bluetooth technology to the limits. So if a magnetic pulse hits and the satellites are decommissioned, transportation could still go. So blockchain being used. So companies using blockchain is another investment, the ones using it. But it's just an amazing world of investing in that. Yes.
And you were an XRP millionaire, right?
Oh yeah, I lucked out. I bought it at like 23 cents and sold it at $3. Oh my gosh. I got my divorce money and put it into Bitcoin IRA, and that happened within the first 3 months. And I watched XRP go straight up, and I tried to sell it for 2 days before the order went through, and it went right over the peak. I was having a heart attack. Yeah. And then I started a nonprofit, and all these people wound up scamming me, and I wound up shutting down my nonprofit. And then I wound up kind of retracing a little bit during the crypto winter. But eventually my mining contracts, I had some of those for 5 years, and they just kept chugging away. So the Bitcoin mining contracts and the Dash mining contracts I got with Genesis Mining, that just consistently, that's another way of investing that, takes you out of the daily market flow and puts you in a long-term, investing in the infrastructure. Yeah, and that's what I like. Investing in any of it that's, solar, geothermal, volcano, environmentally friendly cryptocurrency, and I think we're all moving more from proof of work to proof of stake to proof of consensus. It's just evolving to be more environmentally friendly, for sure. Whatever Elon Musk says about, he wants to run the Bitcoin Federation, right? Didn't he come out trying to anyway, I'm glad no one knows where I live.
Well, that's awesome. So it's great to see you. It's great to catch up. Thank you very much for the conversation. I enjoyed speaking with you.
Yeah, I would just like to say, if anyone wants to collaborate on, any of these domains, I save the world sales at Proton Mail. You can email me at savetheworldsales@protonmail.com. And, I have, if anyone needs to reach me.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks for your time. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the latest Irish Tech News podcast. Check back every day for the latest episode. You can follow us on Twitter @Irish_Tech News, on Facebook, facebook.com/Irish Tech News, on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/Irish-Tech-News, on Instagram, instagram.com/IrishTechNews.ie, and on TikTok, tiktok.com/@Irish Tech News.
Using blockchain to reunite families, Krissy Smith. Leveraging blockchain technology to reunite families impacted by failures in local judicial court systems, with Krissy Smith. Using blockchain to reunite families, Krissy Smith. Kristine Smith is a star producer and ambassador for the Erasing Family documentary, www.erasingfamily.org, a free non-profit feature-length film about family court-induced trauma and real-life reunifications. The film is endorsed by the American Psychological Association. This film is designed to help erased kids open up to reuniting with their parents.